Before there were maps, there were two worlds. The world you know, and the shining realm of Kaf, hidden just beyond it. A kingdom of fairies and giants and magic. On the night he was born, an emperor 1,000 miles away woke from a dream. A black crow that stole his crown, and a bright hawk that flew out of the west to win it back. And the wise men said, "That hawk is a child, and he will shake the thrones of the world." That same night, the fairies of Kaf carried the sleeping baby across the sky. They blessed him, and they touched his eyes, so that nothing hidden could ever hide from him again. His name was Hamza. He would become the bravest champion the world had ever seen. Strong as a lion, a warrior against 100 armies, a prince who lost his heart to a princess, and at his side, the cleverest trickster who ever lived. Amar, a thief of 1,000 disguises, and the truest friend a hero ever had. Together, they crossed burning deserts and enchanted mountains. They faced sorcerers and giants and dragons and the demon armies of Kaf. They saw wonders no eye had ever seen. Thrones that flew, cities of gold, gardens that bloomed in the dark, courage, magic, love, and laughter. One of the greatest stories ever told, carried for 1,000 years. And now, it is yours. This is the Dastan of Amir Hamza. This part is hers. It was always going to be hers. For the War of the Forts had stopped being an adventure and become a life. 8 years turned to 12. Fort after fort was taken and drained like a water skin, and the enemy, having learned at last what it cost him to meet Amar in the open, no longer met him in the open at all. He fought now only by treachery, by night, by tunnel, by the bought word. Amar took the fort of Salasil disguised as a wandering holy man, selling mystical nonsense to a star-struck boy prince named Bahman, 14 years old, kind, and far too ready to believe. Mark that boy's face, children. The tale is not finished spending him. He took the iron fort of Devdad, carried in through the gate in a water carrier's bucket, playing a captured merman for the guards. But this time the water carrier did not come home, and Amar wrote a page in his little book that he no longer read aloud. And the princess herself was no ornament in all this. When Jopin, still besieging, still hopelessly in love, seized her bridle on a fort march to press his suit, Mihr Nigar opened his scalp with her own dagger before her guards could so much as turn. She was the fort's second blade, and any man who filed her under the word prize did so at his peril. The enemy camp had come to sleep in shifts, by daylight, in their armour, a whole army besieged by the reputation of one man, even their own trickster, sent to cut Amar's throat in his sleep, was found under Amar's very bed and folded away into the magic sack like so much laundry. Then Baktak, scolded across 9 years of failure, unleashed his son. Bakhtiarak forged a royal letter and bought a grandee of the fort itself, one Kavaja Arbab, and had him dig a tunnel from his own house to the enemy's camp. 10,000 men waiting to come up out of the floor, and the whole plot died of a daughter. For Arbab had a child, Dilavez, and she weighed her father's ambition against the lives of the fort's children, and chose the children. She wrote her warning left-handed, so the hand would not be known, sealed it with the press of a coin, and sent it out by her nurse in the dark. The saga is full of women, children, who choose the right thing sideways, and this one earned her name in a single night. So Amar came to the feast, not as a spy, but as the guest of honour. "We've come for the religious observance, Kavaja," he told the traitor, smiling. "Surely you were expecting us." And he had Arbab trust at his own dinner table. And down in the dark, at the mouth of the tunnel, stood Adi, pulling the enemy's champions up out of the earth one by one as they emerged, silent as a man pulling turnips from a field. 400 he took before the alarm ever sounded. Jopin put his head up out of the hole, judged the situation with rare and sudden wisdom, and went back down. And the tunnel was filled in, with its investors' ambitions still inside it. But now, children, the tale turns strange. The roof of the fort, at dusk. Mihr Nigar, 12 years thinner, the betrothal ring gone loose upon her finger, had been coaxed up at last for a breath of air. Her friend, Zura of Egypt, sat beside her. Her nurse Fitna Bano fussed at her shawl, and a black cloud came rolling in against the wind, with lightning inside it like veins under a skin. And out of that cloud reached a hand the size of a door, and it closed upon Zura and lifted her off the roof and was gone, between two heartbeats. Gone. High above the world, Zura found herself upon a flying throne, demanding of the empty air who had dared, and the air answered her, apologetic as a clerk. Asman Pari commanded us to fetch Mihr Nigar. You were sitting beside her. Errors do occur. That is the horror of Quoth at its purest, children, a kingdom that will steal the wrong woman off a roof and file it as paperwork. And in the far garden of Iram, the fairy queen circled her captive and saw the mistake. You are not Mihr Nigar, she said. No, answered Zura. God is kind. But the queen kept her anyway, half a hostage, half a guest, wholly a thing to bargain with, and drew the coal of Solomon along Zura's eyes, so that she too could now see every hidden thing. Remember that, children. That coal will do its work when its hour comes. For the fort had learned upon that roof what you already know, that the war of Kaf and the war of the earth had become a single war, and that a fairy queen across the edge of the world now knew Mihr Nigar's name and her very roof. And down on the plain below, for the space of one long breath, a rider dressed all in orange sat his horse and watched the place where the hand had come down, then turned and rode away into the shimmer of the heat. But it was not the hand out of the cloud that broke her. It was the waiting after it. One taunt too many, drifting up nightly from the siege lines, Jopin's heralds, crying it into the dark. 12 years, princess, and he has taken a new wife in fairyland. The cruelest weapon of all, children, because it was true, and no one inside those walls could say it was not. And at the black hour of one night, Mihr Nigar took a horse and a veil, and rode out of the story's protection, 100 miles gone by morning, and then the tale did for her what it so rarely does for its women. It gave her a road of her own. A falconer king named Ilyas tore off her veil by force and set her up in his palace, and she told him, level as a drawn blade, come near me, and one of us dies. I am indifferent to which. An old merchant who had known her as a child broke her out by night, and paid for it with his life while she watched from cover, her first grief of the road, and not her last. Hunger, a melon field, a tiger in the night jungle that took her horse out from under the very tree she slept in, and at the end of it all, a wayside holy man's hearth, where the princess of the 7 realms, unknown, ended up running the whole household. Steel-spined, useful, alive. Everything Hamza survived by miracle. Children, she survived by nerve. And it was Amar who found her, who had tracked her for weeks through a dozen disguises, and who at last simply sat down across the holy man's threshold as a ragged pilgrim and took the disguise off. No trick. The 2 most stubborn souls in all the saga looked at one another. The fort's still there, he told her. So is the vow. I'd have led with an apology, but I've forgotten which of us owes it. 12 years, Amar, she said. Even God's patience has chapters. And then he reached into his magic sack and drew out a letter, sealed and worn with the road. The letter he had stolen at the very door of Kaf, and never delivered. "He wrote you this," Amar said, "and I never gave it, because it read like a goodbye, and I do not deliver those. Read it as a promise instead. He is coming, Princess, and when he comes, do not tell him I made you cry. He'll never let me hold the notebook again." She read it under the holy man's lamp. We do not hear the words. We only watch her face pass through 12 years in the space of a breath and fold the paper along lines that will never wear out. And she rode home beside Amar at dawn. So the princess came back to her tower, not because the road defeated her children. The road, in the end, was afraid of her. She came back because a vow is also a road, and she had walked further down it than anyone alive. Sleep now. The lamp is low. For in Kaf, that same season, her rival was burning a city to the ground to keep one man, 2 loves, 2 roads, and a mountain standing between them. And it is to that mountain, tomorrow, that we go.